Hello, Jimjamatic here. Welcome to a brand new episode of Robot Wars episode reviews. I have removed all sharp objects from the room. I have removed anything I can possibly harm myself with, because we're in Heat C, folks, and as you know, this is my least favourite heat. And joining me on that torture is Sam Elliott 64.
Why do I have to do this? Why can't Anderson do this heat?
Because I think I've tortured him too. I gave him Heat L of Series 2.
This is true. You didn't give him that.
Actually, you've got all the bad heats, I think, of this series. You've actually got L and P as well.
Well, I've got L for reasons, and Heat P, I mean...
Actually, if Anson was going to do a P originally, but I thought he had 5 episodes in a row of Ansons, so I thought I'd split up. And Sam,
yes.
you got the short end. I mean, Alex got Semi Final 1, you got P.
That's not fair. I want Semi 1.
Well, tough. It's not happening now. I mean, you've. Oh well. I'm sorry.
We'll get to that eventually.
You didn't really get anything bad last series, so I guess you're making.
No, it's true. I got quite lucky last series.
Yeah, you're making up for it now. I mean, I love Series 3, but yeah, you've managed to pick all probably the top 3 worst heats of the series. So
I've done well here, haven't I? Really?
It's well, I wouldn't describe it as too well, but yeah, we'll go throughout, but. Throughout this heat, I'll be able to say exactly why this heat's my. I mean, a lot of people pick P as their least favourite, or sometimes L.
My least favourite is P.
I'll get into. I'll actually probably more in the episode itself. I'll probably talk about why exactly I don't hate that one as much. But yeah, this one you'll know why I don't like this one in particular. We'll start with the heat winner. Not the best heat winner. Admittedly, considering there's a certain other robot that could have probably won the heat later on.
There's 2 robots that would have made this heat that would have been probably more interesting to watch after that.
That's true, and this is Blade, one of the 3 non-returning semi-finals of the series. Probably the middle ground for me. I mean, it's not as good as Pitbull, but Trident.
Better than Trident.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, they did originally, because I remember having a magazine
Blade's
years ago. Blade's Big Brother.
Yeah, I wish I'd liked to see what that was about, and also the Trident 2 as well. And
yeah, I think Blade's Big Brother was going to be seeded 14, I think, something like that.
Something like the lower teens, anyway, because that makes sense.
I think Trident was 12 and Blade was 14, or other way around, or something like that. If anyone knows, please tell us. But I mean, yeah, Blade.
It's there. Blade is a thing.
But, I mean, I think in only one fight did its weapon actually work.
It was the very first time it hit Spike, and that was it. After that, and he ripped some plastic off. Woo. And after that, it just didn't. It was a robot that it was more of a pusher than an actual spinner.
That's how it ended up, didn't it? Obviously, the weapon got damaged.
Yeah, and it had better pushing power in reverse than it did forwards, oddly enough.
Yeah.
Which is a bit weird, because your main weapon's at the front. But...
Well, I think it's more because it was a flat back, wasn't it, rather than anything else.
Yeah, I mean, to his credit, though, Blade isn't it was reliable. It didn't break down once.
No, it didn't. Which is saying something for Series 3.
Yeah, it had a decent top speed. It was at least driven okay. I mean, it was fine. It's just, I think when you just consider robots in this heat and what could have been, it's kind of disappointing in many ways. But again, we never got to see these guys again because they never returned after their failed robot of Series 4. And
well, I think it was. I don't know if it broke down or something.
I think it was something like. I mean, Dem and Trident had the same problem, so it was like they both had to withdraw before the.
Yeah.
It was also before anything close to the series because also they got the seeds sorted out by then.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like it wasn't as bad as sorting out Terahertz in Series 7, where it was kind of ridiculous.
Oh, don't get me started on that.
But
that's not the point. Obviously,
no.
Blade is Blade. I think that's the best way of describing Blade.
Unfortunately, there are a few robots this heat where I'll just go, that robot is that robot, because...
Yeah. Another one of those.
Yeah, Agrobot. Although, admittedly, I like the design of Agrobot in some ways.
Really?
I don't know, I kind of like... It's at least memorable looking.
It's enormous.
I'm not saying it's good. I have no way near saying it's good, but at least I sort of it stands out with the paint job and stuff. But the weaponry, the robot itself is not really that. I mean, the weapon's like a little matic spike tail at the back. Which
I mean, this machine, it's
very lucky.
I mean, oh my, this is a heat finalist, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, don't get me wrong, Agrobot 2 and 3 in the future were far cry from what this was, but Agrabot 1, my goodness. I mean, that was the thing, wasn't it?
I mean, it's the heaviest robot in the heat, and it's obvious because this thing
it's the biggest robot in the heat. Well,
yeah, it is really, and it's one of the biggest robots in the heat in the series period. Apart from maybe something like Ton to Run, or maybe Death Warmed Up, maybe like contenders for biggest robot. But
Death Warmed Up, I love Death Warmed Up.
So do I, but that's H, unfortunately. Actually, you're in H, I think. So.
Ooh.
Yeah, you are. You got Hypnodisc at least. That's something.
Thank God for that. I got Hypnodisc.
But Agrabot is. I mean, it's just that it's improved more as they go along. I mean, the robot didn't really have much success. I mean, they never got past the second round most of the time. This
is their best performance. It's just quite a lot, really, isn't it?
It's kind of sad, really. It's a bit like how Behemoth's best performance is Series 2.
But with that said, I mean, every single series after this point, their opponents were all very good.
That's true. In this heat, they really didn't have any competition. I mean, they had
apart from Razor. I mean, we'll get to Razor in a second. But in Series 4, they lost to Smidsy.
That's fair enough.
And in Series 7, they lost to Ripper.
That's okay. Ripper's quite good.
And then, they lost to 259 in Series 6, didn't they?
Yeah, they lost some okayish robots at least. I mean,
yeah, it was 259.
It might have been, yeah. They lost to worthy robots at least, but
yeah. So they always went out against good opponents. It wasn't as if like they were.
Here they lost to Blade because they just randomly broke down after the damage they took from Razor. So
yeah, if Agrabot had won this heat, I think I would have flipped tables. To be honest with you,
yeah, I mean, it's the fact this robot is so bulky, it was hard to really control properly, because it was never really... Its weapon was pretty much useless. The spring-powered spike. I mean, a spring-powered one, it wasn't even like
pneumatic
or electric.
It was a spring-powered spike.
I mean, it's like you know... it's Agrabot. I mean, again, when I said I like the design, I only like it from a sort of standpoint. I don't love it, but I kind of... I don't know, at least it's something. At least I sort of remember it, but...
Yeah, it's certainly unique. I mean, it's enormous and it's certainly unique. And it's certainly this version actually did have quite a cool design thing that actually helped it against one of the robots in this heat, which I'm sure we'll get to momentarily.
I mean, again, it's not the worst thing ever. I mean, honestly, there's Blade and Agrabot both aren't terrible robots. They're just, I think, just considering where they should have really got realistically. It's kind of amazing.
Yeah. In all realism, the two robots that went out in the Heat semi-final should have been the Heat final.
I agree. Both those was that would a way better fight, but
that's beside the point, really, isn't
it? We'll just get the elephant room out of the way then. Razor. how to simultaneously both improve a robot and then completely fuck it up randomly.
I mean, look. Here's the thing with Razor, right? When I was growing up, when I watched the originals run when it was on TV and all that stuff, I was never a massive Razor fan. I've kind of, as I've got older, I've begun to appreciate Razor a lot more, in terms of like just the way it looks and more than anything. I mean, it's an absolutely gorgeous robot. But this frustrates me.
The Razor curse. The Razor curse.
3 series to get a robot that worked, and Razor. I mean, do we think it would have won this series?
It would have.
Had it not broken down, it would have had Blade. It would have had Blade in the Heat final.
It would have Beast the Bomb, and it would have had a good go at, definitely.
It would have been. I think it would have been Beast the Bomb.
Oh, easily.
Stegosaurus. Maybe not.
Maybe I don't know if they got a good crush on them, because I mean they are quite a flat sides. So they quite
It's very quick, isn't it? And then Hypnodisc is. I think in this series it probably would have beaten Hypnodisc.
Yeah, because Hypnodisc was a bit more reliable in this series compared to future series, but.
And then obviously Chaos 2.
They would have had a good go against Chaos 2, I think. They beat him in the World Championship, so.
Yeah, exactly. But Razor, I mean, it's. I think at this point it's beyond all that. This is the best looking robot ever.
I mean, it's in terms of this. Are you talking about this heat or?
No. In terms of like just from like an artistic point of view, I think it's the best looking design.
I mean,
I'd argue something like Pulsar nowadays, but I mean.
I probably would disagree. I don't think it's the best thing ever, but I still think it's a really, very good design. But at the same time, unfortunately, when I was younger, Razor was not a robot I cared about that much, and it's sort of persisted to this day. I'm sort of in the same league as Anderson, where I don't really care about it too much, but I really respect it for being a good, well-engineered and nice-looking robot. But when it comes to battling, I've never been that interested in watching. It's a bit like TR2 in some ways, or Eruption. I'm not the biggest fan of watching it battle, but I don't really mind it. It's still a good robot.
You respect the fact that it's so effective, but whereas would you choose to watch that, or would you rather watch Hypnodisc, for example?
Exactly, yeah. I mean, same with Dan Tompkins as well. It's a good robot, but I never really enjoyed watching it battle as much as I should.
Yeah,
but,
which is fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, I still like Razor, though, but again, I'm not obsessed with it. I just think, when I see it, I was like, okay, Razor's here. They're probably going to deal with this decently. But then the Razor curse continued all the way till Series 5, where they finally got their act together and managed to win the series. So,
I mean, in this series, Razor, I mean,
the World Championship.
I actually love this Series 3 and 4 Razor. I love the look of. I think it looks even better with the scoop on afterwards, obviously. But
I mean, honestly, showing from the World Championship, it showed Razor could do well. He managed to have a good go against Behemoth and obviously Dieter was the International League, but
Chaos 2 in the World.
And had a nice go 101 as well, and it was showing like it could actually do some decent damage, but then. Yeah, shenanigans happen in the second round, and Razor does not live up to its full potential. So
not in this series, at least. No.
Or next series either. Let's face it.
Well, I prefer to think they were beaten by a superior robot on that occasion.
They did a lot better next series though, but they still managed to, unfortunately, somehow. I mean, they were doing so well in Series 4 until the final.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, there's not. I mean. Honestly, the more and more series will go on, the less we'll have to talk about Razor. But I mean, this is the first time I talked about with you, so I guess we're a bit more.
Razor is a work of art for me, at least.
It's a work of art, and honestly, another robot I quite enjoy the design of is the other loser in this round, Agent Orange.
I love Agent Orange.
It's such a cool looking thing. Like for Series 3 especially, it kind of has that kind of like a kind of weird, almost like kind of robotic. You'd see it like some kind of lab or something. This thing is here, this little orange box.
It's very unique as well because I don't think anyone else had like a Jaws of Life pincer sticking out the front.
Actually, I don't think this series. No, I don't actually anyone had one. I mean, the only one I can think of was prior to this was the lightweight for was it lightweight? No, was it? I think it was a lightweight for the general team, Damocles, I think it was called.
Right.
That was the only one that had a crusher on it. Apart from that, I've never seen actually anyone use like a Jaws of Life, so it was actually really unique. And
I don't think anyone else had one after this, did they?
Well, actually, Agrabot had one.
It was slightly different, though, wasn't it?
It was similar, though, in some ways. I mean,
yeah. That's actually a good point. Yeah, I forgot Agrabot had one.
Later on, but yeah, I mean, Agent Orange is very unique. It has a little pickaxe and a grabber. I mean, the grabber never really did anything. I don't get moved once the entire series, but the pickaxe got some work at least.
Yes, it did. And I think this. I mean, do you think they would have beaten Blade had they not broken down?
I think it was actually quite even between them two in that fight. I mean, it was just until when they started. I mean, they got broken down slightly, then they started. They obviously lost it, and I think it was actually up to that point it was fairly even. So I think it could have been. It was an all right, probably the better fight in this heat up until that point. So. But
that's not saying much.
No, it's not saying much really. But I mean, by Heat C standards, it's not too bad. And that includes Series 4's Heat C as well.
God.
But yeah, no. Why is it with Heat C? Seriously. But yeah, I mean, one last thing obviously I mentioned last time. This is actually the team that made Spin Doctor in Series 2, and they unfortunately didn't manage to come back in Series 4 and 5 because they didn't qualify both times.
It's just a shame because I like Agent Orange for what it is.
In fairness, though, in Series 4, in the qualifiers they lost to Dominator 2, so.
I mean, there's no shame there, is there? Really?
Not really. I mean, Dominator 2 is one of my favourite robots, so.
I mean, I love the look. And that's probably a robot that I'd put up there with Razor in terms of looks.
I'd agree. I mean,
especially I love the Series 5 version, but I think the Series 6 one with the chrome paint looks really cool.
It's such a great robot, and it's funny actually you mentioned Dominator 2 because Backstabber has a very similar design.
That was a really good segue.
I realised as I was mentioning, I was like, oh yeah, Backstabber's in this heat, and I mentioned it before. It looks like Dominator 2 in some kind of accident where its axe reversed round, and now it's at the back instead. I mean,
it's interesting at least.
I mean, to its credit, it doesn't look that bad of a robot. I mean, it just died unfortunately very quickly. It just broke down like the first hit or something. But the one thing I'd have to say is I don't understand the backstabbing weapon on it at all.
I mean, it's a nice idea.
Yeah, but
have a wedge at the front if you like, and then if someone comes by and you get poked, but it doesn't come down far enough.
No, nor does it actually really have much weight behind it. It's just sort of like a little spike on the back, and it doesn't.
True.
It just doesn't. I mean, it's just a weird design choice to pick. I mean, granted, it's probably my favourite out of the 4 losing first round people, mainly because it's
that's not saying much.
I know. I mean, it's okay, but it's just not memorable. And this is why I'm not a big fan of this heat. A lot of these robots are just.
No, they're memorable for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, I mean, I know, and I mean, I go on slightly about Heat P, but at least in Heat P you get some slightly innovative / weird designs like Tuntarun, Scarab, Smidsea, Ratus. Even Dreadnought looks kind of cool. Trident's nice and shiny. I mean, it's only Victor, I think, and Psycho Killer, so Victor 2 and Psycho Killer that really let this
Victor 2, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I think it's just Victor 2 and Psycho Killer that let the side down in that heat for me. Apart from that, I'm sort of, and my Heat L sort of in the middle because it has that kind of both of it. But it has some really bad battles to make up for it. So, but Heat, this is why I'm not a big fan of Heat C. This Heat is the battles are not interesting. The 2 robots that should have won their Heat battles didn't, and there's just nothing going on in this Heat apart from really Razor and Agent Orange. There's nothing interesting.
Yeah.
In this entire Heat, and I think it's just like such a slog for me to finally get through to it. It's like, oh, finally Heat C.
Get out of the way.
It's not as bad as Series 4's Heat C though for many reasons, but
no. And then obviously we've got Spike.
Oh, Spike.
I'm looking forward to reviewing their fight.
This robot pains me, it really does. I mean, Spike has a few. I mean, it has many issues. Spike, but one of it is that it's so slow. This robot chugs when it turns round. I've never seen a robot do it. It's not as bad as Sergeant Meekel's axe, which actually falls down in parts. This thing, like, it kind of turns a bit, then moves, turns a bit, then moves. And it had decent pushing power when going forwards, but it just couldn't really do anything with it because it's so slow. And the spike is so high up on this, it couldn't even hit Blade. And Blade's not that low.
No,
really?
It's quite, I mean, it had the guns on the side as well. I'm like, what?
The gun got ripped off pretty quickly.
You're not Brutus from BattleBots. What are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like sort of the aesthetic they were going for, but it just didn't look as. It looked a bit too it's too grey and black to make it look stand out.
Yeah,
like that's its biggest problem. I think it's got such a dull colour scheme. The interesting
name. Oh my god.
The name and the dullness of the robot makes anything interesting, and it's sort of
such an original name, Spike.
Yeah, I mean, it's not as bad as actually in the next heat there's Flipper.
No, there's just this heat in general for names. I mean, as I'm sure some people know, I'm good friends with Dave Laurie from Jellyfish, and his big thing is names, and he likes robots with good names. For example, he had a featherweight called Japanese Fighting Tortoise,
and also he had quite an affinity for Cadena Machina. For
exactly.
that the same reason.
And then this heat offends him.
Yeah, I can understand that entirely, because I mean, the only sort of cool name is Agent Orange. Because it has that kind of, it's named after a chemical, but it's also got that kind of like, it sounds like a secret agent type thing, like some code thing. But then exactly. Max Damage, Blades, Backs.
Speaking of Max Damage.
Oh, Max Damage. I mean, this is the only one that counts for the barnyard. I'm only going to do the tune. I'm just going to can't be bothered. It's a Triceratops. So far we have some sharks, we have a dragon, we have a pit bull, we have later on we'll have a few more dogs. We'll have a beetle, and now we have a Triceratops.
A Triceratops. I mean, technically you could put Razor in that as well because it has got eyes, but
maybe. But again, it's sort of ambiguous with Razor. It's a bit like Man Mutant. I can't really be.
Its beak looks like a toucan at least.
A little bit. It's more like an eagle, serpent, crusher thing. But Max Damage, we think we talked about it more than the fact the fight it lasted with, because it didn't do anything. Obviously, some spoilers. Max Damage didn't move because they forgot to put the
spoilers. It's not spoilers. So it's...
I know. So if you haven't watched this Heat from 1999, then in fact they forgot to put the removal link in, and it had 2 weapons that were never really that interesting. One's a chainsaw, and 2 little saws at the back, which probably wouldn't have done. Which was so close to the bodywork, they probably wouldn't have got anywhere anyway.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, it's a nice fiberglass shell, but it's just. Apart from that, it is just the shell.
I mean, the head looks pretty, but that's about it.
I mean, there's nothing else going on. Apart from the actual shell, there isn't any other design features that makes you go, wow. There's no, like, arms on it, like Cerberus has, like a nice little look. There's no, like, Crasher Nasher type kind of, like, loads of things going on about it. Hell, I'll even argue that Shark Attack, to a degree, made the shape sort of fit the shark look. Well, this is just a Triceratops.
This is definitely just there.
It's Triceratops for no reason. It's called max damage, but it's not going to cause any damage because chainsaws and saws, as we know, don't do anything. Even Series 2 knew that.
That's true.
And yeah, it's one of the few robots that has a chainsaw in the series. I think it might be one of the only ones. Now I think about it. But yeah, max damage is max damage. It's so forgettable. The robot didn't decide to move itself, so it knew it was destined for mediocrity.
Yeah.
Although, actually, may I add, I can't remember which news website it was. There was a news website, because when they were talking about the Robot Wars coming back last year, they showed loads of robots from Series 3, and one of them was max damage. What a weird robot to pick. They chose, some decent robots, and then max damage was one of the robots they showed off, these are the robots you remember. Who remembers... And Stealth was there as well. Who remembers Stealth for the right reasons?
I remember Stealth, but not for...
No, because it was cannon fodder, that's why I remembered it.
Yeah.
And also, it wasn't that great anyway, just saying. But, yeah, max damage is just max damage. I think we've over-talked about max damage, to be honest, though it really deserves.
It's max damage.
Oh, and finally...
Well, first of all, It was originally meant to be Daisy. We'll talk about Daisy first. I think that's...
I suppose we don't see much of Daisy, because you only see a bit of it in the pits and that tiny little image on its neighbour. Daisy is sort of interesting in a way, because it was one of the only kind of skipping rope bar thing. Granted, it didn't look very powerful. It just like a piece of metal.
It was different. That's the thing.
It was different, and it actually looked quite nice, to be honest. I liked to see the way it looked like fully, with all its top on and stuff. But it didn't really. We never saw much of it because, it's at least interesting, but
for reasons.
They never appeared again, unfortunately. So we never got to see him try anything again. So, I guess yeah, you can't talk about Daisy because we never even saw it fully. Yeah, we never even saw it fully ready, apart from the little image on the bottom of it when they mentioned it when they introed it at the beginning. So Daisy doesn't really have anything going on. It's a concept at best, really. It's a bit like Sharon, the Tracy one. Looks kind of interesting, but they didn't really fully realise it, so it's hard to really talk about it. It's one of the things like Lost Media, you just can't really talk about some things.
Yeah.
That was Daisy. They were going to fight Agrabot, but the robot that did fight Agrabot.
James, I know you've been waiting for this one.
Oh boy. Right now, whenever I criticise a robot, as you know, it's like kind of does terms and conditions. I'm not making fun of the team members, nor am I saying anything about the team members, in a negative. I'm not being horrible to them. It's just that they made the robot the way they want to do. I still don't like it, but they made it, and that's that's my terms and conditions out of the way. Right, disclaimer.
And obviously, you always have to remember we personally can't build robots.
No, we can't.
Not yet, at least. We haven't attempted to.
No, if I could, I would, but I'm just not. I've got the time or the money or the absolute knowledge to really even. Obviously, Dave can say you can make a robot easily, and I'm sure you can, but it's just I'm just not that. I'm not a very good technical person. But Binky is hands down, and I'm talking about the entire series. I'm talking including Series 8 and 9, every Extreme Series, every side event, anything. This is the worst designed robot I have seen in my life. Binky annoys me for so many reasons, and they actually kind of link together. I was thinking today, how would I eloquently say this rant? And I thought of the kind of flow system. There's three things that always correlate to how rubbish this robot is. Number one, it has one wheel. But even 3 wheels is too little for me. You should have an even number of wheels, in my opinion. Because look at something like Phoenix, where it just had that third front wheel, didn't do anything. Grim Reaper can't turn properly because it's got that one wheel at the back and car steering at the front. Not saying Onslaught did it better, but that's the point, being it was harder to control. Binky has one bike wheel in the middle of it, and it has to turn its entire...
In fairness, Dark Destroyer 2 had one wheel.
Yeah, it's true, but
and that worked, and that could work.
It works, but the thing is, though, unlike Dark Destroyer, Binky is just one wheel on a base, while Dark Destroyer had a back bit as well to kind of balance it, and so it was very sturdy. But Binky, while it's still sturdy, it has problems turning, because it has to turn this is the second point, it has to turn its entire body shell round in order to turn round, but like Tri-Terabot had to later on. And that was a terrible design choice as well. But at least it was sort of silly. Plus, it was also technically a reserve in some ways because it just didn't get an intro at the beginning. It just
so was Binky. Binky was a reserve as well.
It shows why. But again, granted, they knew which way the robot was turning on, like Whirling Dervish. It had a little metal strip on it. But here's the second point: the shell doesn't always turn when they want it to. it just turns randomly. In their fight against Agrabot, you see a bit where it runs into Agrabot, misses, and the body shell just randomly turns, and then it tries to fire at Agrabot and goes sideways. Because it's like it had a rocket, like some kind of weird rocket, like in Goat Simulator or something. It just flew off in one direction. And
like in Goat Simulator.
It does.
I mean, this has gone a weird turn.
It was like some kind of glitch. It just kind of went flying off in one direction because they didn't mean to do that way. And it can go about 50 miles an hour, this robot. Why would you want it to go 50 miles an hour? You can't even steer the thing properly. And then thirdly, right, all this could be forgiven if it wasn't for one major error with the weapon. They call it the battle sled. It's just a wedge. Don't try and fancy up. Don't try and start trying to go all Plunderbird and say we've got some missile guiding system. It's just like a little missile. They're not going to fire anyone. Don't try and overbig it. It's a wedge, and your wedge, and this is the third point, the wedge doesn't follow the body when it turns. So essentially, the wedge can be facing one way, and a 90-degree angle the robot is facing forwards, and the wedge just kind of goes sideways as it goes forwards, eliminating your entire weapon. So it's completely pointless. It can't steer. It's awkward to control. The weapon doesn't face the right way all the time. It's not like a full-body spinner. It just doesn't work. One wheel, so you can't turn efficiently. It takes like bloody forever for you to turn round. It's just a mess. And again,
it's Binky.
It's Binky. And you summed it up just as well as I did. It's Binky.
It's Binky.
I mean,
Binky is. It's very there, isn't it? I mean, don't get me wrong. At least it's very unique. It's unique, but I'm glad no one else tried to try and copy it.
Yeah, obviously, you have to have innovators to try these things. Like Groundhog with the Omni wheels. Their way of working, it didn't work. You try something different. Obviously, innovators like Jim Strutt's the first Walker. It's good. It's interesting, very well engineered, but it wasn't very effective. And this is a sort of another version, except that it didn't. Nobody tried it again. A bit like the chain lifter on Fault's Revenge. Nobody tried it again.
Yeah. No one tried it again. Apart from Anarchophobia, obviously.
But it's the same series, though, and after this, you didn't really see it at all.
It's true. Yeah, it's true.
Plus, I don't think they were colluding with each other to make the same weapon. Yeah, I'm glad I got out of my system now. That was Binky. That was
battle time.
Oh, battles. Oh, do you call these battles? Well, Backstabber versus Razor. Razor bumps into Backstabber. It breaks down, pushes it into the pit.
Yep, GG.
Although, to its credit though, Backstabber didn't get penetrated by Razor's claw because it scratched on the side.
Every fight in this series, Razor had problems because obviously the way that the opponents were designed meant that they couldn't get a sufficient grip on them, which is actually quite interesting.
It's why it's very hard for Razor to get hold of Pussycat, because A, it moves around a lot, and B, it's very slanted on a lot of his edges. I mean, unlike something like in the International League, give me Technolease, hell yeah, box, crushes it. Dead.
Deator, same thing.
Deator, yeah. 101 in the just get these flat edges and it's good with flat edges with nothing else. Razor, that's the problem with it.
Yep.
But at least Backstabber broke down and just kind of limply pushed it into the pit, which is pretty. I mean, that's Razor's. Yeah. This is Razor's first ever win, and it's pretty boring, unfortunately. But
it's true.
You got to have your first somehow. Max Damage versus Agent Orange. Again, is this a battle? Can you really... No, because Max Damage didn't move. The removal link wasn't in. Agent Orange just kind of spiked it with its axe and then pushed it into the pit, and that was it. That was a fight.
That was a fight, yeah.
That's the last I'll ever talk about Max Damage ever, probably, so there you go.
Thank God.
Yes. Spike versus Blade. Dave's nightmare. Spike versus...
like, shaking in the corner or something. It was
Thank goodness there wasn't a robot.
In fairness, we saw a bit of damage.
Oh yeah, a bit of plastic fell off. That was because of the.
Something, I'll take what I can get in this heat.
It's the only time that the weapon worked, so savour it.
Yep.
Actually, one thing I found quite funny is that there was multiple pushing matches against these robots, and whenever Spike was pushing forwards, Blade was actually losing the pushing match. But then, as soon as Blade went backwards, it couldn't. They were better.
For some reason.
And also there's a slight thing where they didn't hear cease for some reason. They kept pushing Spike into the pit. Probably one of the highlights of this heat, unfortunately, was Blade just blatantly ignoring the cease command and just going, well, we're just going to push them straight in the pit anyway. Which it deserved it, but still, it wasn't going to win. Even the judge, it went to the judges anyway, but they were never going to win it. Spike, so
no.
Again, last time I ever talked about Spike as well.
Thank God.
Yeah. And finally, we Agrabot versus Binky. Again, is this really a battle? Agrabot didn't do anything because it didn't need to. Binky took itself out.
So, in all the first round battles, none of them were actually fights?
No, the closest to the fight was Spike versus Blake, because both lasted to the end, and both were working at the end, Sad to say that, but the worst...
No, it's true.
I mean, Binky just kind of ran into Agrabot. It went sideways, as I said before, zoomed off onto the spikes, got caught on the spikes, and died. And that was again, last time I ever talked about Binky until maybe the awards, but I'm sure it'll appear somewhere.
Oh, thank God again. Thank God we no longer have to just talk about Binky.
Yeah. Should you talk about the side event for the second round? Might as well.
Yeah, might as well.
It's the middleweight event. Now it's unique because unlike the other events that were supposed to happen, there's supposed to be a super heavyweight and a lightweight, I think, and they got cancelled due to certain safety failings behind the scenes with the robots spiking people in feet and what have you. So this is the only kind of class battle we'll see, weight class battle, because unfortunately that's what happened. So,
yeah.
And why did it have to be the only one? Because this one's boring as fuck. This battle, nothing happened. It's like half the robots just break randomly. The one that Grinder dies almost instantly.
Yeah, I mean, I will say one thing about this battle is we got to see Tentamushi.
Tentamushi is awesome, I will admit, and it's weird.
Mega Tento, etc. That Lisa Winter and her robots are fantastic, and I love. It's just so weird. Tentamushi's such a weird robot, and it works, and it's great.
Tentamushi's hands down probably one of the most weirdly interesting robots ever made. Let's
face it, Mega Tento in BattleBots made the last 16.
It's amazing, and I love the team as well. And it's the only time we get to see him properly. We see him have a little rematch with Akill in the International League, but this is the only time we get to see him in the main competition besides that. And it took out they took out Shunt. Tentamushi.
Yeah, I forget Akill was a thing.
Akill, not in the later version of Akill is just absolutely hilarious. The series,
I love that team so much.
They did not give a crap when they were doing it. They loved it.
This axe here, this could crush a strawberry. Can I do that, Heat? Can I please do that, Heat?
Oh, I'm sure you can. I'm sure I'll be able to let you in that one because.
Yes.
I mean, this version of Akill though is very boring. It's just it looks like.
Was the other one? Was the other one not?
I know, but this one is even more boring. There's nothing interesting about it. There's no comedy with it. It's just a box with little spiky bits on the front of it. It looks like it's out of an army camp or something. Yep. Then we have Ripper's Revenge, which is a box.
Yep.
Yeah, that's Ripper's Revenge. They did appear in Series 2, but they were against I think it was against Demolisher, and they just lost because they didn't charge their battery properly.
And then obviously you had Hard Cheese, which was the Series 2 middleweight champion, I believe, wasn't it?
Hard to believe from this performance, wouldn't you? Because it died pretty quickly as well, and then Sakillot got a nice roasting immediately.
And that clip was used in all sorts of intros after that. It was great.
In fact, it's a very, very good Sakillot lift. He just managed to disembowel the back of it and just make...
like Forklift's Revenge, but he did it in Heat 1.
And probably Shell Shock in the next heat. Yeah. He gets some good moments with his, and also Red Dragon as well. He gets a lot early on. It's some very good early on hits with his drill. Yeah. Never uses it again.
Nope. Draw's better.
But now it's the only time we get a draw because for some reason judges decided that they couldn't decide who didn't.
Let's face it, they all got wrecked, so it wasn't a case of
No, I mean honestly, if you really had to push it, I probably would give it to Tentamushi, but even then,
that's because Tentamushi's just Bay.
And also they took out Shun, which is pretty amazing, and also Matilda cut off on the little antenna, which was pretty funny.
Yep.
But probably one of the few times Matilda's chainsaw did me damage in this series.
Shocking, I know.
No. Wait until Extreme 1, then it'll get better.
I can't wait till Matilda gets her flywheel.
I can't wait as well.
Let's look at Series 9. I mean, look what he did to Nuts.
Nuts got launched into orbit.
Yeah, it really did.
I mean, in Series 5, she just destroyed so many robots. Probably one of the most cruel ones was Supernova in Series 5. That was a hit and a half. Or or Firestorm even against B Capitator.
Yeah, really.
Well, the only time I've seen the flipper fall off.
Yeah, absolutely. But, thank God that they rebuilt Matilda. But anyway, carry on.
Yeah, anyway, we're just rambling because we've got to go to the next round. And probably the two best battles of the heat, saying a lot. are in this round. We'll start. We'll leave the other one to last. We'll leave Agent Orange versus Blade for the first one.
Agent Orange died.
Yeah, very close up until that point, though. These robots actually it's one of the only kind of really close battles. And then Agent Orange got spiked by Matilda a couple of times, and then they just sort of lost drive, and eventually they just kind of hobbled. They're barely moving by the end of the battle.
Yeah.
Like something fell off. I don't know. There was like bits stripped off it. There's some scratches on it. And it just looked kind of beaten up by the end of the battle.
This is true. I mean, in all fairness, I think this fight was very good tactically, and I think
Blade...
it's the same that Agent Orange did have to die. I think Agent Orange would have been probably fancied to win the heat. It had beaten Blade after this point, but I mean, it is what it is, and Blade did well to keep going, and obviously they end up winning out, didn't they?
I mean, obviously the clip of Agent Orange getting lifted up by Matilda is used a lot in past clips after this, because one of a few times Matilda's tusk really does a lot in the series, so it's quite interesting.
It was when that's in one of the intros again, isn't it? It was in
I think series 4, when they show off with Matilda, it shows some series 3 clips and think that's in it. Also that and Shell Shock as well, pushing half across the arena.
Yep.
But and the fight.
It's time.
Razor versus Agrabot. Razor done goofed.
I mean, again, same with Backstabber. The way that Agrabot's design is kind of like the wedges at every angle, so that it's difficult to puncture down. And I think that it was
a very tactical battle, this one, because Razor was trying to...
Agrabot didn't die. I think Razor probably would have eventually won on damage.
Yeah, definitely. The damage is a lot heavier weighted in this series, but to his credit, Razor was actually doing well. Agrabot was doing very well to dodge Razor's to make sure the back end wasn't exposed. But then, unfortunately, at one point, Razor managed to get in and just completely crumpled the back of it.
Yeah, it squashed it, didn't it, really?
No, that was the only real weak point on Agrabot.
And then, people say, they celebrated early thinking they'd already won. I think the weapon just failed. I think they didn't mean to do what they did, and then they just ended up getting pinned there.
I think it was a mechanical failure. It went too far. It went downwards instead, and too far to the point where the wheel, and they couldn't get back up from the.
Because that's how they self-right. Because when they self-right, the beat goes upwards, doesn't it? So the wings come out.
Plus, also they've done it before, where it's hit the floor and not done anything. But this time, there's one time it just kind of dug in too far, and then the scratch mark it made on the floor was pretty deep, so. It went in quite far.
I don't know if they changed the design after this point, so that if that happened again, it wouldn't touch the floor or something like that. I don't know if that was.
I think so. Yeah, it can never touch the floor again after Series 4. I don't think, because it was just for that reason.
They did in Series 4, didn't it? So yeah, that's wrong. I don't know, but it looks great when it does it. I mean, the pirouette is fantastic.
And also the little wings coming out. It's a brilliant, but this time unfortunately another Razor curse hit them, and Agrabot managed to limp through. Although they did get a beating from Shunt, though, which was nice,
they did.
For good measure. And I think that damage actually did kind of affect him in the final, because Blade versus Agrabot
didn't last very long, did it?
No, Agrabot just sort of died. It just died randomly. It wasn't impressioned by anything. It just sort of drove away and then just stopped. And then Blade obviously pushed onto the flame pit, and it just got a little bit of a burn, and then. Yeah, the heat final wasn't very interesting, folks, because it was one robot that was working well and one robot that was barely working. So
yeah, that's true.
That's all. It was going to be Blade from the start, to be honest with you, and the amount of damage they took from Razor. So,
which is a shame, but it's just the way it goes sometimes, isn't it?
That is true, and that was Heat C.
We
did it. It's gone now until Heat P. Honestly, a lot of the Heat, maybe Heat L. Obviously, most of the Heats aren't that bad from now on. So.
Yeah.
It's we got Chaos 2 later on. We got Hypnodisc, we got King Buxton, we got Wild.
The next Thing's not the best, in fairness, but I mean,
it's okay. Oh, we do get the debut of Alex the Hunted though on my podcast.
Yes, of course, Alex Hall.
Alex Hall, indeed. You'll know him from many things. Obviously, you've seen What Robot Was videos, the Facebook page, his channel, of course. He's almost got 4,000 subs now, almost.
Only 4,000.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Only. Yes. Sorry, you'll catch him up one day, Sam.
I doubt it.
You're doing well. You got about 160 odd last time I checked. So.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
I've got 112. I'm doing well for myself.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
It's good. But yeah, what would you give this episode a rating of if you really had to?
If I had to, you put a gun to my head.
This episode does it to you.
Do you know what I'd do, actually? I wouldn't give it a rating. I'd go and watch BBC One instead of BBC Two. I'd turn off. Watch Antiques Roadshow or something. No, I mean, 3, 4, something like that.
to me, it's like a solid 1.5 out of 10.
Oh, 1.5. Oh, good. Okay.
For me, yeah, it's the one of the lowest rated episodes I've ever gonna think of. Apart from maybe Heat 4 of series, no, Heat C of series 4 and Heat L of series 2, like the earlier series. They're the three out like from per series, and probably maybe the featherweight Heat of series 1. So like, those 4 like the worst ones in the earlier series to me, and maybe and maybe also Evil Weevil's Heat from series 4 as well. But,
yeah, oh god, that's a thing as well, isn't it? Jesus Christ.
That's a thing. That is a thing. Yeah, this Heat wasn't great, but at least next week we get an okay-ish Heat. Back to average again. Back to average. I mean, anything's great, good after this one. Honestly.
Yeah. The only way is up now, guys.
Only way is up, and briefly, obviously, we have Ultor, the Heat winner. I mean, I'm going to call them the Heat winner because they are the Heat winner.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll have a lot of fun explaining that one.
I'm sure we'll, but yeah, on a brief note, Ultor didn't think they'd get this far, so they decided to just leave and give Big Brother the chance.
I reckon it's all a conspiracy. I reckon they had to go home because they had to go back to work or something. A bit like the one dude from Hardvark in the last series.
Probably. I mean, he didn't even make it. He didn't even make it in series 3. So.
Yeah.
But I think it was him anyway. But yeah, so we have our Big Brother, the debut of Joe Watts and the Bigger Brother team.
I love Big Brother.
I like it. It's definitely it still has a very similar colour scheme to and design to Bigger Brother, except one's a wedge and one's a lifter.
You can tell one has they have the same kind of art style, like the kind of like it's quite grungy, I think.
It looks like you can tell it's like loads of metal plates put together, like welded together, and it's just kind of together.
But it's nice. It looks nice.
Yeah, and Orte was obviously the kind of shinier sequel, and then it died in like 10 seconds for Supernova.
Oh,
so,
I love Orte.
I know it was such. I hope they come back. I hope they try Series 10 because did they try for Series 9 or did they not try for it?
They did, but they didn't get in.
Oh, I hope. Please try again for Series 10. I want to see it come in. Send that application off. Come on, it'd be great. I want to see Joe Watts again. I haven't seen what he looks like when he's older. It'd be awesome. But what? Nice to say. Because it'd be like it's like when you saw the guy from the kids from The General and they're just grown up and it's like, whoa, I feel old.
Yeah, do you know what I mean?
Or Dom Rott when you saw him from Series 2 to Series 7. This was one of those things I was like I want to see Joe Watts just to go I'm old and that's it.
One day hopefully we'll see Joe Watts back again.
Hopefully. We have Bumblebot, one of the weirdest and worst axes of the series.
I mean that was in the last series as well, wasn't it? So
I mean at least its axe I think is longer than this series, but also the axe head was like a sledgehammer in series 2. In series 3 it's just a weird scythe that doesn't do anything.
Yep.
And it's Bumblebot.
It's Bumblebot.
We have the class act of Sir Cromot, their debut as well.
Oh, my favourite. I mean, I know I said Plunderbird. I mean, those guys in Plunderbird and Deator, those three are like on a pinnacle.
And Nuts for me as well.
Yes, yeah, Nuts now as well.
They've sort of raised the flag for like funny teams now, Nuts. But Sir Cromot were, I mean, also Big Brother and Sir Cromot debuts. That's pretty cool. Yeah, they come in a limousine and everything. They do the air guitar. They do everything. It's just, and they also call it like the best robot in the series, and just awesome. They know exactly who they are and what they're here for. And honestly, I like the Series 3 Sir Cromot. It's okay. But somehow this thing cost $3,000. I'm not really sure where the $3,000 went, but. I don't know.
I love Sir Cromot. It's
great. I bet the limo was the whole what they spent the $3,000 on.
So I reckon it is the hiring the limo.
Probably, yeah. I love they counted that towards the robot's expenses as opposed to the actual robot itself. Also, before we go to the next robot, R.I.P. Steve Merrill. Love you, man.
I'm sure you'll get to that next week as well.
Yeah, we will. But that was such a shame.
He's a class act, isn't he? He is the class act.
He is the class act. The unfortunate Millyanne bug.
Millyanne bug.
One fatal mistake, and then in Series 4 you get your wheels ripped off, so give or take. It's the same robot, except that they did an A-palm. They used the same robot from Series 3 to 4. Honestly, because they didn't really take any damage in Series 3, so there's no reason not to. Mm-hmm. We have Flipper, sort of the barnyard animal of one of them, because it's a dolphin.
It's true.
It's one of the two in this heat. And it's just Flipper.
It's Flipper.
Also,
it's there.
Also, it's quote unquote Flipper in the pits. That is,
yep.
Yeah, it's part of the end shot. Just they brought a robot twice that didn't work in a row. They would have learned their lesson after the first series. Shell Shock, the other barnyard animal of the series, representing the tortoise.
All the animals.
+1 for design. I like the design of Shell Shock, even though they didn't have the head out and the feet when it was in the battle for some reason.
Yeah, at least it's interesting,
+1 for the snail. I'll give him that.
Yeah.
He's like barnyard animal 0.5.
Yeah, he's there.
And finally, actually, Grim Reaper. Unexpected debut of a decent robot in Series 7. A decent flipper in Series 7, but you wouldn't think
in
they had.
Fairness, we haven't seen. That was the only 2 series they were in, wasn't it? 3 and 7.
Oddly enough, yeah. I mean, I can't remember if they qualified. They might have qualified for 6, maybe, or 5 or something.
I know as well. They were in. So obviously, before Series 8 happened last year, there was a pilot episode. Robots like Tanto were in that, and Turbulence. I think
Kapow
as well. Reaper, which is a recolored Grim Reaper, redesigned Grim Reaper, was also in that as well.
Did they apply for Series 9? Or did not?
I don't know.
I mean, I see them back, but it's kind of weird to see that gap between Series 3 and 7.
Yeah, I mean, you can see they spent their time wisely, but Grim Reaper Series 3 is going to be pretty interesting, at least.
I love the design of Grim Reaper. It
looks more like a Grim Reaper than, say, the 7th Wars one, but hey, you know what? It works.
Yeah, and I think Mr. Psycho described it as the Batmobile.
It makes sense.
It makes sense entirely.
Absolutely makes sense.
Even if the wheels don't really stay on the robot very long. But that is next heat. This was something.
This was a heat.
This was certainly something. I'm Jimjamatic, signing off.
And this has been Sam 64, and I'll see you at some point this series. I don't know when it's going to be, but James will obviously see you next week for Heat D.
And also, I will be joining Sam on his podcast for Heat 4.
Oh yes, I'm well excited for that. It's going to be something interesting.
It should be great. So yeah, I'm signing off, and that's Sam 64 with me.
Yep. See you next time.
Bye.